Okay, folks. Going to do something a little different. I saw the video that Az made on Heel versus Babyface about command tables. And after watching his video, I had a few thoughts of my own in to kind of add or in reply to that. So the first thing that came to mind was that we don't know what the subscription numbers are at the moment. Blizzard stopped revealing those. I think it was like the end of the third quarter of 2016. It seems like it was the end of the year. So if not this last year, the year before that. So I find it interesting. They've said at BlizzCon in years past that they wanted each expansion to be essentially its own self-contained adventure, if you will. They didn't like they didn't want to carry things over and have to constantly be retweaking things. So I find it interesting that with the command table, that's exactly what they seem to be doing. They seem to have found something that they can work with, if not cater to a specific audience. And I wonder if that's not what they're doing, which brings me to point 2, which is a lot of people, when these came out in Warlords, said, well, it's a Facebook game. It's a game you play on your phone when you're getting up and getting around in the morning. And sure enough, in Legion, that's exactly what it became with the companion app. And then again in Battle for Azeroth. So it definitely seems like they are trying to cater to a specific, at least one specific type of player, or to. I feel like trying to make it more convenient almost gives them more credit. They very seldomly tend to make things more convenient in the game. Which I suppose brings me to point 3, which is, and this has kind of been a pet peeve of mine for quite a while, which is, grinding does not mean good. Just because you have to grind for something and work for something does not mean it's good. And this is where I felt like I kind of had a point or a opinion, rather, which is while I find the command tables annoying as anybody else, they're not directly tied to anything. You don't have to do them. When they came out in Warlords, of course, I probably did them the most of these 3 expansions. Probably did the shipyard more. I liked the shipyard more. However, keep in mind there were, there was gold inflation. First of all, there were pets, there were mounts, there was selfie cam. All these things were kind of rare missions that randomly popped up. So there was a reason to log in and check your missions, if nothing else. Of course, that was kind of the essence of what people didn't like about Warlords. However, I digress. That's a whole separate issue. In Legion, I didn't do them all in Legion. I did them the bare minimum because I didn't want to do it again. And I got through the expansion fine. I leveled up. As soon as I got to Suramar and I saw kind of the grind Suramar was going to be, I was like, I'm done. I'm done doing this. I grinded out rep in Mist. I did all the dailies. I did all this. We went into Warlords, same thing. It was just rep, and you do some of the same things every expansion. There's going to be rep to grind. You know that. And that's fine. You have a choice whether you want to or whether you don't. Suramar, though, was on Suramar or the Broken Shore. It's kind of a toss-up. Since Miss and Timeless Isle, they've tried to put in like a, I don't want to say sandbox per se, because that's kind of a limiting term, but something to do that occupies our time, so to speak. We had Timeless Isle in Mist. We had Tanan Jungle in Warlords. We had, I would count Suramar, because it was just a grind on top of a grind. You had to go get mana, and then you had to give the mana to the people in order to continue to do your quest. I mean, it was just, to me, it was just ridiculous. And that upsets me more with the command tables than anything else, is are they putting these in so they don't have to come up with other content? That's kind of the question I ask myself. Or is this just a part of, have they figured out a template for kind of how they are approaching expansions now? And this is kind of the new norm, so to speak. This is what we can expect. Because it's very rare that they hold things over from one expansion to the next. I mean, look at some classes and their spells. Their spells have literally been taken out and added back in multiple times. Not even in expansions, just within patches. So, I have to wonder if it's not partially, we don't know what the subscription numbers are. They were low the last time they came out, and I can't imagine, with the exception of launch day, for obvious reasons, I can't imagine they've climbed much higher. We're approaching a month into this, so I imagine subscription numbers are going to start to go down from here on out, unless they come out with like some extremely exciting raid or some kind of patch content that everybody wants to play. We don't really have much to do. All I've done since I've reached 120 is grind for one thing or another, whether it was the war campaign. You had to get rep to complete the war campaign. Now war fronts. Yeah, the only reason I've been doing the missions now is for rep, to unlock Dark Iron Dwarves. That's pretty much it. And I imagine once I do that, I will probably stop or just not put as much emphasis on it. So, yeah. So I have to, I guess my point being, I kind of have to wonder what the thinking is behind the scenes. Yes, they're annoying, and I think it's space that is taken up that could be used for better content. However, I have to wonder with where the subscription numbers are. We don't know the number of people they're making content for. It seems like they're trying to go after a specific type of player, maybe, or they're trying to retain a certain type of player, perhaps. And it's annoying, but it's not specifically tied to anything. Nothing, you don't have to nothing I saw in Legion said, oh, you have to wait for a mission to pop up on the, in your class hall in order to start this or anything like that. If anything, they've gotten worse because the rewards you get from them have become worse. You don't get mounts anymore. You don't get pets. You don't get anything like the selfie camera or anything like that. You get gold. I suppose if you wanted to, you could do the missions just for the gold. I know some people do as part of their gold farming. So far, the only missions that have come up have been for artifact power, which I'm not really doing because why would you when it's so prevalent everywhere else? Rep and gold. That's it. Hardly important to very many other parts in the game, other than, like I said, the rep. If you're trying to unlock Pathfinder, yeah, I'm sure you're going to want to do it for a while. But even at that, it's like 4 hours. I think there were like 30. I know some followers in Warlords had abilities where they could end up being like 30 minutes. You could get the time down. They don't do any of that anymore. I will say this, I do like not having to go out and recruit followers. However, it was there was a bit of an experience to that, though. To being able to go out and choose the followers you want. And then, of course, doing the legendary ring quest. You got a legendary follower. And all of that. It was a lot. I think if they'd just stuck with that and forgot the armor. That's the part I find discouraging, is you have to level your characters and give them armor and everything else. You don't seem to so far in Battle for Azeroth. Every follower I've got's been 120 already, so it's actually a lot easier. So it's like every other part of the game. They've ended up dumbing it down, so to speak, making it easier, so it's actually less work than it was to start with. So I think if you're going to ask a question, the valid question to ask is this something that, as I said, is this part of their template now for how they make an expansion, or is this something that eventually is going to phase out? Because the last few expansions have kind of all been a story arc. So when we finally do something completely different, will we have any of this, or will they come up with something else that's equally as annoying? Yeah. So there you go. There's kind of my thoughts, my ramblings on command tables. So. Hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching.